G'day guys, Matt from Big Boys Toys here on a sunny beautiful day up in the Southern Highlands. Today we're going to talk about pump setup. One of the biggest questions we get, and we had a few arguments with blokes and so forth, some people are hell bent on the way they set their pump up, so we're going to give a general run over of what you need to do to ensure your pump's going to start when you need it. So first of all, what you've got to understand is if I'm going to pump out of this dam behind me, I need to have a foot valve. Now I know a lot of guys don't understand what a foot valve is. You'll see one of these, you'll get one of these with your pump. This is just a strainer. Stops the crap getting in, but in no way is it a foot valve. A foot valve is one of these. What it does, it's got a flapper in there. You can hear that flapper. Once your line is filled with water, that flapper will stop that water from running back. Without this foot valve, you're not running water. You may snag it, there's ways you can do it, but you need to know what you're doing. These can be expensive or cheap, depends on where you get them, but generally speaking, the bigger these get, the more expensive they get, but they'll be your lifesaver as far as setting your pump up. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're using rubber or suction line. It's readily available at most rural stores. Don't want to be using poly pipe for suction line. I know a lot of blokes say they've used it and it may work, it might, but when the chances are all you need is a pinhole in your suction line and your pump's not pumping. It will suck air, cause cavitation in the pump, and you'll get your water will boil up into that and you won't get any water coming out. So it's imperative that you use suction line. It's easy, it's cheap, you put it on, you seal it, you've got your hose clamps straight on there. Any threads, make sure you use thread tape, because like I said before, you do not want to be sucking any air, especially around your suction area here. So that's very important that when we put our suction line on, which is this fitting here, we're going to ensure that we use our seal, and that seals against that. So you don't need to put thread tape on that part because your seal in there is going to seal against this lip, and that'll stop suction like that. So don't put thread tape there, because if you put thread tape there, air is going to come through this section. So that's ensure that you put there, and I just dropped my O-ring so it doesn't matter. The next thing you want to make sure of is you use hose clamps. You'll get hose clamps with any pump you purchase from us. They look like this. Put them on there, put one or two. This end I'd probably put two just to make sure. I think you get three in there. If not, get in your rural store, Bunnings, they've all got them. Grab one and put it on just to make sure. When you've got that, you need to, once you've got your foot valve in here, it connected there, what you want to do is you want to make sure this is full of water before you start. What you'll notice, if you've got your filler up your pump here, you undo that, you fill your pump up, that will only prime your pump, not your pump line or your suction line. In here, there's a lot of the time as a flapper, and you've got to make sure if you've got a non-return valve there, which is the same as this one, that if it's there, it keeps the pump primed, but you need to prime your suction line. So how I normally would do that is I would put my foot valve on, I would connect that because that's a screw on, I would connect that, and then I would submerge this pipe, this suction line, into the water. It would fill it up. I would then screw that end on there, chuck a 4-litre drum on the end of that so you don't drop it in the mud. Start your pump, and you'll find that it might spit and splatter a little bit out there, but then you're away. But I can't emphasize enough, air on the suction line is not good. Now another thing you need to be sure of is you use your correct suction line size. You can't, if that's got 1.5 inches, that's the minimum you can go. To give you an example, next time you're sucking a straw on a drink, squeeze your straw and quickly find out how hard it is to suck. Exactly the same for a pump. Minimum 1.5 inches, maximum, go what you want. An 1.5 inch pump, I would probably prefer a 2-inch, preferably. It's just going to be less restriction on pump. Pump's going to work easier and you're going to get a better result at the end of it. So like I said guys, I'll keep repeating it. Foot valve, if you're pumping out of here, if you're pumping straight from a tank and the tank is higher or level, so if your tank's here and your pump's there, you do not need a foot valve. You can go straight from here to there, no problems. You could probably use poly pipe for that, but I still would say you're talking you're talking a few bucks. You know, use the flexible suction line. Once you've got your pump set up, you've got 3 outlets. Now you've got to work out which one you're going to use. If you're going to use it for firefighting, you want to set up firefighting. Our firefighting kits or our firefighting hose kits come with Storch fittings. You screw it on, you only need one, or if you're running 2 lines, both these pumps will run 2 lines, no problems. Screw that on, open up your valve. You can either use your fog nozzle or your direct nozzle. We have both of them as well. Hook that up and away you go.